Yeah. You already know I'm trained to go. It's about 8 o'clock for my favorite show. All the latest news on your radio. Yeah. Had to start a wave, then I changed the flow. Y'all know who the best is, the Urban Collective.
All right. What's up, everybody? Thank you so much for checking into the Urban Collective Show. It is your First Lady, Miss Bernadine Truth, alongside...
It's your man, NIC.
Yes. And again, like I said, it's the Urban Collective Show. It is that time and part of our segment where we get to highlight an amazing person in our community who's doing phenomenal work with our celebrity guest interview. And I'm really excited.
Thank you.
I'm going to introduce you all to Rachelle, Shou, Biton. Okay? Did I say that last name right?
You did.
Okay. Yes, my Haitian
accent and all.
First chance we do it better. Anyway,
Hey.
excuse me. Rachelle. So Shou is not your typical entrepreneur. This Haitian American Boston native is a certified event planner, paralegal, fashion designer, event host, blogger, caretaker, inspirer, and truth bomb dropper. Y'all know I'm here for the truth bombs. Shou earned her bachelor's in sociology from Suffolk University and her paralegal certificate from Boston University. During the day, she works as an executive assistant to the general counsel of a prestigious investment company. She is known for her raw honesty, edgy humor, authenticity, and insight, and sharing inspiring personal stories, cutting-edge research-based content. She has recently launched a YouTube channel to establish a platform where real-life experiences are implemented to improve relationships, navigate change, and triumph over diversity. Adversity, excuse me. I said diversity, yo. I'm being that wrong.
I mean, I'm diverse though.
Triumph over adversity, diversely. Excuse me, making it work. No, but honestly, everybody, I'm gonna let her share her social media at the end of our segment. But ladies and gentlemen, it is my great honor to introduce you all to Shou.
Yeah, welcome. What's happening?
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
Haitian people will be like, so yeah.
Right.
I know.
I
don't.
Sorry, y'all.
That means when do you have time to sleep?
Yeah, the
and eat?
non-Haitians out there.
Okay, right.
But
Show.
let us know something about yourself that the world doesn't know.
Yes.
Could be a quirky thing, could be a private thing if you want to come out.
Whatever.
I don't know.
See, that's hard because I'm so transparent that it's hard for me to say something that people don't know. Because I'm the type of person that's like, I like your dress. Great. I got it from Amazon. You want me to send you the link? It was $15.99. Like, I'm just really transparent. So,
let people know.
So, you know what? No, something people don't know is I'm actually an introvert.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't have guessed
Yeah.
that.
I think you got the wrong word.
No.
Yeah, do you know how that's defined?
No, I'm an what is it?
You're
extroverted
an with extroverted tendencies.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. It takes me a while to warm up to people. But once I warm up, you can't shut me up.
Oh.
So
I feel like I actually probably observed you be like that, to be honest.
Yeah.
And even with me, like, right? Like, you know, so when you're traveling spaces until you know of people, but it's not until you know the person.
Right.
Where you're like, oh, okay, like,
I got you.
right.
I see it.
Right. So I totally see that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for having it. Thank you for being here with us on this show. We want to have an open and transparent conversation with you about the work that you do, who you are, and all of that.
Awesome, I'm ready.
Okay.
Ready?
Well, where do you want to start? I mean, I guess we'll say,
let's
like,
go back
wearing all these hats. Oh, you want to go back?
Yeah, I want to go back in the
That's
day.
because he knows me from back in the day.
Right. Y'all know each other.
So let's go back in the day. So young Shou, high school, college Shou. What were you trying to be? What were you inspiring to be? And what led you down to this path?
Honestly, I've had so many different dreams. So I think my first dream was to be a wedding planner.
Okay.
And that was from watching The Wedding Planner.
Oh,
Then at one point, actually, you know what? No, I'm lying to you. I originally wanted to be a fashion designer. And that started from, I probably was like 7 or 8 years old. My father is a mason, and he would always sew their aprons. So I was like 8 years old, literally sitting at his feet while he's at the sewing machine sewing these aprons. And he saw my infatuation with it. He saw my admiration for the art and just the fact that he had that freedom and that creativity to do what he wants. and at that point he put me in sewing classes. So and I remember that like it was 4 of us in the sewing class. This lady cleaned up her attic. She had tables set up, and every Saturday morning my father would drop me off, and I would do. So I made my 8th grade graduation dress.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So I was like, oh, I'm gonna take it places.
Send us a picture of that so we can post it.
No,
seriously.
I actually do have that picture,
Well,
though.
like,
But it's
yeah.
back in the day, though. It's not even like a digital picture. It's gonna be a picture of a picture.
It's beautiful. I'm ready to see what you created for 8th grade.
It was
8th grade graduation.
It was awesome. Like I loved it, but no shade to Haitian parents, but they gave me you can't go anywhere with that. Like you got to be a doctor or a lawyer or something in or engineer or or a nurse. Like you had to have, to them they want something with substance, and they didn't see substance in fashion. So I ended up going to Suffolk. I started Suffolk with the major of entrepreneurship. At that point, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I was like, oh, I want to have my own business. Then I think my 2nd semester, I went undecided. So like, I'm not going to keep going with entrepreneurship because I don't know where this is going to go. I ended up graduating with a bachelor's in sociology because I love, even though I'm an introvert, I love watching people. I love trying to figure out why society is the way that it is, or what got us here in the first place, and how did we evolve? What did we learn, if we learned anything at all? So I have a bachelor's in sociology with a minor in criminology and law. Because if I'm at Suffolk, I got to do something with law. Left there, and then I literally floated to every job possible. Because once you're a college graduate, you just want to pay your student loans also.
Sally Mae comes calling.
Oh, and she's still calling, but
I don't even know who Sally Mae is.
Do you know her cousin Navy?
Listen. I know who Sally Mae is, but I'm trying to act like I don't know Sally Mae, so Sally Mae can leave me alone.
That's when she come knocking harder.
Right, harder. Oh, I know. My doors are knocked down.
Get the steel door with the bolt. But I just started working different places. I worked in nonprofit for about 10 years, where I was working with kids. Loved it, but it was kind of like, okay, there was no room for growth. I ended up at John Hancock as an executive assistant to the general counsel. Now with that, they were just like, well, we kind of want to take you further than that. What do you feel about getting your paralegal certificate? Cool, you want to pay for it? I'm down. And they paid for it. So I ended up getting my bachelor's certificate through BU. So I'm a certified paralegal. I think I'm just a little bit of everything. With the event planning, it's just my creativity. Like if you tell me, okay, I'm thinking about doing this type of event, I'm like, oh, great, we could have it here, and we could do this, or you should have this type of event, you have these color schemes, or you could have these people here, this type of entertainment. And I also just think growing up with, my cousin is DJ Smooth. So growing up in that entertainment field is kind of like, I have an eye for it. I have and with me doing fashion, I have an eye for that. So I just, if I like something, I try to figure out how I can master it.
If you, knowing that you juggle so many interests and you can execute on all of them though, like what would you say if you had a magic wand and or you were told you could only pick one of them all, what would that one be? And why? Can't even say anything. I'm like, why?
I think I would do the event planning.
Yeah.
Because I'm also a people pleaser. So with the event planning, I get to showcase my creativity and I get to satisfy a customer.
Gotcha.
So I kind of get the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
I love fashion, but
fashion.
It can be tiring sometimes, and then it can be tricky because if I mess up, then it's like, oh my gosh, like how upset are you gonna be? And then a lot of people with fashion, they see something on a model and they think that's what they're gonna look like in it. So then if I just because my issue with fashion is once I start sewing, I don't stop. Like I will make a dress within a day. Like I've had times where back when I was hardcore sewing, my mom would come downstairs and say, so you're not gonna eat breakfast today? Or lunch? Or dinner? And I'm like, no, I'm almost done. I gotta get this done. So I think I overkilled myself when it came to fashion. But I think with event planning, it forces you to pace yourself, and it just allows me to be creative and give people what they want.
I love that, like the true entrepreneur spirit, right? Being able to be creative in all that you do. And now, if out of all that you do, which is your least favorite?
The paralegal work.
Paralegal work, okay.
It's a lot of reading. It is. It's
Yeah.
a lot of reading, a lot of analyzing and printing, and you're not even really a lawyer, so it's not that you're not getting the credit for it. It's kind of like
but
you're doing a lot of
work. Yeah.
just to pass it over, and they kind of execute it. And you're like,
Exactly.
that was me.
Yep.
So when that happened, things like that happen, the agency that you work for, do they come back and say, hey, thank you, what you pointed out, this or that? Do you actually get acknowledgement from them? Because I've heard the opposite from a lot of other people that works in that field.
Okay, so I'm not alone. Not necessarily.
Okay.
Because in their defense, I feel like they're looking at it as, this is what I pay you to do. And I also grew up with the mentality where I'm not gonna thank you for something you're supposed to do.
Gotcha.
Like this is what I'm paying you to do. Like what am I congratulating you for? What am I thanking you for? I'm paying you to get this done. So, yeah.
I mean, that's real. I mean, I hear that. Like, I'm paying you to do it, but I also feel like demonstrating that level of gratitude and appreciation is really important, right? So, with people who assist me, like my coordinators, those I used to supervise and supervise now, I'm always like, thank you so much, because I'm able to do what I'm able to do because you play your part too.
Right.
So yes, I'm getting paid to do this, and you're getting paid to do this. But if you don't do this, right, like I'm gonna have to do what you do and what I do.
Yes.
And this team has also seen me juggle all of it. They be like, "Are you good?" And I'm like, "Give me 5
Give me a
months.
second.
Give me 5 days, right?" Like I'm like, "I'll be back." With a face that makes sense in a minute, right? But I hear that, right? So again, it's just like, yes, you understand that you're paid to do this, but some appreciation was still,
Absolutely.
I think, maybe help it go back.
So you had college. Now, past 5 years, what have you been up to? What you've been focusing on recently?
I would say past 5 years I've been trying to figure out what I want to do in my life, because that's what we do, right? Once we become adults. But I would say actually recently I have taken on the role of being a caretaker to my mom. Back in March 2018, my mom was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and it really is that type of disease that kind of just blindsides you. I think a lot of times we see our parents getting older, and it's kind of just like, oh, they don't remember, or you grow up and they've called you 10 different names trying to remember who you are, and you're just like, oh, I done been called my sister, my brother, like 10,000 names before she got to me. So seeing her do it, at 65 years old, I'm just like, oh, okay, this is just her. But that has actually been a life changer for me, and I think that has caused me to appreciate my life and just making sure you get to do what you want in life. You get to challenge yourself, because you never know when those chances are taken away. Like, I'm pretty sure my mom would probably tell me that, there are things that she wished she could have done, but she probably put it on hold for other reasons. And now you don't ever have that opportunity to do it. So
what were some of the early signs, or how did you detect it, or did she have to detect it herself, or was it like a doctor's visit or anything?
The first sign that I saw, I realized something wasn't right. So my mom used to do, like, she's on a whole bunch of medication, but that's, with the list of older generation Haitians, she has like diabetes and high blood pressure. So she's taking at least 15 pills twice a day. On top of insulin. And there was one time, so this October, either 2016 or 17, it's like everything starts to mesh after a while. I walked in, I saw her, like, she had a plastic shopping bag, and she was like picking her pills out of it. And it's like she was setting up her pills for the week, and I'm just like, how do you know what's what? Like, how are you just taking it? And I realized that literally that's what she would do. She would get her medication, she would dump everything into a shopping bag.
Wow.
And on Sundays, just pick out her pills and I'm like,
how do you know you're not mixing this up?
Yeah, she's like, oh, I know which one is what, and I'm like, no. So I took pictures of it, and I went to her upcoming doctor's appointment. I was like, I need you guys to resend everything. And they're like, well, we can't. I was like, I showed the picture. I was like, let me show you what she's doing. So at that point, I started to like monitor her a little more, and I noticed that she was always asking the same questions. Like, and I'd be like, we just had this conversation, 5 minutes ago. And I'm very A-type personality, so if I have to repeat myself to you, I get frustrated, and I'm just like, dude, why are we having this conversation again? Like, we just did it. And I think last March, I was going to the gym. This is when I was going to the gym at 4:30 in the morning.
Yeah,
I
used to be so
miss
good.
those days.
Mm.
And I
You miss those
I
days?
miss those days. I
Wow,
haven't been to the
okay.
gym in like 6 months. I woke up to go to the gym and I saw like it was pitch black. So let me backtrack for a little bit. She used to always be awake at like 4 o'clock in the morning and washing dishes. And I used to be like, what are you doing? Like, what? Why are you washing dishes in the dark? And she'd always say, well, I just don't want to wake anybody up. And I'm like, you're the only person on this floor. But last March, so March 2018, I was going up the stairs to go to the gym. And I just saw like it looked like a black bag in the middle of the kitchen. I'm like, who put the trash in the middle of the floor? And then I turned the light on, already frustrated, because I'm like, why I gotta take the trash out? And it was my mom, like literally laid out on the kitchen floor. And I'm like, Ma? Like, and she was unconscious.
Wow.
I ran downstairs, grabbed Bernard, and I was like, my mom is, and before I even finished the sentence, he was already up the stairs. He grabbed her, we called 911. It was like a blizzard the day before. I remember that because I was just like, we ain't never gonna get anywhere. Oh my God, like what's happening? She still wasn't responsive. Finally, the firefighters came. They actually dug us out of our house, brought us down to Boston Medical Center. We were there for 22 hours in an emergency room because they didn't have any beds because it was a blizzard the day before, so they didn't discharge anybody. But she could not remember why she was in the kitchen. She was speaking to doctors and they're like, okay, do you remember what happened? And she's like, yeah, I was going to the bathroom to take a shower. And I'm like, yep, found you in the kitchen on the floor. And she was like, no, I was going to take a shower. And I was like, no, you were in the kitchen on the floor and I'm pretty sure you were washing dishes. And at that point, the doctor was kind of like, I don't think there's something right with your mom. And I was like, yeah, I don't think something's right with her either. So 2 weeks later, they gave us an appointment for the neurologist. They did a couple tests with her and the doctor was like, your mom has dementia. And I was like, and like a teardrop fell, but it was like, it wasn't because I was like sad. It was kind of like, damn, I knew
like
that.
I knew
it.
Like, and I didn't want it to be true. Right. It just solidified what you already knew.
Right. And she was just,
affirmation.
Yeah, and she's sitting in the room like, hey, okay, like, all right, am I going to daycare? Like, I'm just like, dude, we're in for a journey right now. So, since then, it's been a little over a year. She just turned 70, so she's extremely young. So for a lot of people who don't know, dementia is the umbrella disease, as I should say. It pretty much just signifies that you have a mental issue. There's mental awareness. Alzheimer's falls under dementia. That's pretty much. They showed me, they were able to narrow it down and say Alzheimer's because they did an MRI of her brain. And when you have Alzheimer's, your brain is a lot smaller than the average human being. So when I looked at, they show you different, like, I guess different cortexes, and depending on what's shrunk, will kind of help them identify where the situation is. So at this point, we're just taking it one day at a time. Like I think one of the biggest things for me is remembering that it's frustrating for her too. Because where she was once the parent and telling me what to do, I'm now the parent telling her what to do, and she's looking at me like, you are my child.
No,
like,
your mom too.
I want to say, like, I appreciate you so much for sharing so many details of such a personal element of the story, because it is an interesting dichotomy of life, right? Where your parents are the ones raising you, you go to them for so much, and all of a sudden you see life transition, and you see it shift into another angle where you're like, did you eat? Did your parents? Did you sleep? Like, how were you sleeping and what's going on? I'm watching my mother go through it with my grandmother right now, you know, and I think it's hard when you watch two adults struggle to find balance, right? So like my grandmother's frustrated, my mother's frustrated,
and they get feisty,
and they fight. And Haitians, you can't tell anybody not to do something or what to do. Period. Tell a Haitian woman what she can or cannot do. I think it's actually worse than telling a man, right? Because in ways, men are just like whatever, like they'll just block it off. But with, like, it's emotional. Right. It's just like, how dare you?
Right.
Thank you so much again, like I said, for sharing that. In that role, right, how do you manage taking care of your mom? What's the journey like in taking care of your mom, but also fulfilling your purpose and understanding just how fragile time is to do all that you want to do, but always know that there's somebody else that you need to go home to who can't even remember these details?
It's a tough journey. And honestly, I'm still figuring that out. I think one of the key aspects of that is the support system that I have. Between friends and family, and I have friends who are either in a similar situation or, you know, have dealt with parents who have passed from it or are more advanced than my mom. So I have an amazing friend, Nuns, who unfortunately she recently did lose her mom, but she has been like literally my rock when it comes to dealing with my mom with Alzheimer's. And you know, and what I admire most about her is she's extremely transparent with me. Like, she's not, oh, it'll be okay, you got this. It's like, no, you're in the beginning stages, it's gonna get worse. Appreciate what you have now. You know, and I appreciate that honesty. So having that support system, my job is extremely supportive of it. Like, if my boss is always like, do you need to go? Is everything all right? Like, so having that kind of helps me be okay. Like, when this first happened, I would feel guilty for like wanting to go out or wanting to enjoy myself. But you know, once again, the friends and support system, like, no, if you don't have a life of your own, you'll lose your mind. And it happens, and it has happened. So I think just having people around and also just reminding, and I've prayed a lot. Like, I grew up in the church, but then of course, you know, when you get older, you kind of fall off a little bit. But I think I'm back to just like, okay, and when I wake up in the morning, God, I know she's gonna argue with me this morning about what we argued about last night. I just need you to remind me that it's not her. And I think just having that, I guess, concept in my mind that, yeah, she's arguing with me, but she doesn't remember we talked about this last night. Or she's frustrated, I'm frustrated with her, guess what, she's frustrated with me too. So just keeping that in mind. I guess I gotta check myself sometimes. And it's hard because I don't like being checked.
But yeah, definitely. One thing I have wanted to see, you all probably say it now, is I definitely do commend you for doing this. I know your brother, your family, and especially her appreciates it, because some of the stuff that I see you doing, I'm looking at it from afar. I'm always liking your stuff, your posts. But what I see that you've done, especially this past weekend, with the walk and everything like that, and seeing her, how happy she was. Dancing, and you know how your mom is. Your mom is very, very, very outgoing person. So seeing that and seeing all the life and all the happiness that she still has.
He gonna make me cry.
Yeah,
I'm sitting here.
And you know me, I normally don't do that.
I know, he's tough on me, so I'm gonna take this.
Definitely, man, great job. Keep doing it. I know she appreciates it. Like you said, the frustrations are gonna happen, but you just gotta keep pushing through for that, you know?
That's awesome.
Definitely good.
Truly. And you know, as we're talking about that, and as you're like helping your mom navigate her own journey and fulfilling your own purpose, in the beginning of this interview, you said, you know, like, you're still trying to figure out, like, while you have your hands in many pockets, you're still trying to figure out your life. As us grown up, right? The other day I posted, I was just like, growing up to be grown ups, like grown up or grown ups growing up, right? Because yes, age tells us things, but life and experiences do so much more, right? So as you're figuring it out, I know a lot of our listeners are also in positions where they're like, I don't even know what I'm doing. Like, this might be a season for me. I don't know, right? Like, where are we? Seriously, life happens. It's like, remember that one time I had that interest? I don't know what happened to that. Or that one time my goal was to do this, right? Like, what happened to that? In navigating your understanding of self, what are the things that you do, and what are some things you consider as you're exploring?
That's a great question. I don't even know how to answer it. Some of the things that I consider and I'm exploring. So I've recently launched my YouTube, right? And everybody's asking me, so what is Shounanigans? And Shounanigans is actually how I'm exploring and figuring out my life. I don't have, like, I'm not focusing on one specific thing. I'm literally highlighting every element that I do, whether it's like a trip I'm taking. I've enrolled back in school, I'm doing cosmetology, and everybody's just like, dude, now you're legal, now you're doing cosmetology.
You have to do makeup for all the attorneys.
Listen, I told them, if we have to do headshots, we can reserve a conference room. I can do it.
A whole legal event.
But I'm literally at this point in my life where I'm doing everything I like. And, you know, in that, I guess, exploring everything that I like or everything I think I like, I'm figuring out, maybe that wasn't a good idea. Okay, we're gonna leave that alone. Because I think now I'm at the point where I'm not doing anything to impress anybody. I'm doing what I want, how I want to do it, and when I want to do it. Like, I've got to realize, yes, I'm on God's time, but I'm on nobody's time but my own. So I think realizing that has kind of helped me say, okay, if you want to like something, try it.
Absolutely. What's holding you back, right?
Yes.
Take risks.
Yeah, so what made you come out with that idea with the whole shenanigans? I know it's kind of like, seems like it's like a lifestyle blog and
Yes.
everything. What made you come up with that idea?
Honestly, I don't know if anybody else watched Jazzy on Instagram. She's one of those people that went from like Vine to being on TV. I saw a quote that she posted, and she said, "I made a career off of being myself." You see, it hit. That hit.
My life. For better or worse.
I read that,
yeah,
and I said, "What am I doing? Like, why?
Yeah.
What? Like, I think I'm pretty cool. Like, I think I'm pretty awesome. Why not showcase my life
and be the best version
and
of
be the
yourself all
best
time.
version of myself?"
And if that means you're a hot mess, then you're a hot mess because that's the best version of you then.
Yeah, so you're not gonna censor it or anything like that. You're gonna really actually go through and show every aspect.
Put it
I'm
out
asking.
there. The ones don't even know who Shou is. Talking about
They
you
gonna
gonna
find
put
out,
everything
though.
out
They
there.
gonna
No,
find
that's
out.
what I'm like, yeah.
I messed it with you because you're just like you gonna put everything.
Yeah.
And I see it's just like I know you. I need to see it.
No, it's not even about knowing you. It's just like, even if I
am.
didn't know you, it's just certain private things people want to remain private
Yeah,
or whatever.
that's
So
real.
are you really gonna be like,
I am, because
Everything.
it's the point of shenanigans, and the definition of shenanigans is all things Shou.
okay.
So, I'm showcasing my mom, I'm showcasing going back to school, I'm showcasing when I go on trips, I'm showcasing hardships that I'm going through. Like, I don't want to hide anything because eventually it's gonna come out. Like, let's say, knock on wood, I blow up. Somebody gonna be on about like, girl, look, she did this a couple times ago. She ain't never spoke about that. No, he's gonna be like, oh yes, she did. It was on this. So even now, so far, I've posted videos about, like I did one that was introduction of Mama Biton, where I kind of just highlighted her dancing all the time. I did our morning routine, because every morning while I'm getting dressed for work, I do my makeup while I'm baking. For those of you who don't know what baking is,
Let the powder sit.
you let the powder sit.
Oh, like bacon.
And the longer it sits, the longer it'll stay in place and you don't
Sorry,
get oily.
I'm a man. I don't know who's talking
No,
about. I'm like, so you bake every morning?
Every morning I bake. I gotta bake my face.
Oh,
Gotta bake my face. But while I'm baking, I go upstairs. I'm giving her medication. I'm giving her breakfast. I'm taking her insulin. You know what I mean? Like I'm showcasing that. I did one where with Boston Carnival, my contribution to that. I just posted my Hollywood Carnival trip that I did. Like, I'm just literally, whatever I do, I'm just
doing it. You know what's interesting too? Like when I saw Shounanigans, I thought it was a play off of Shenanigans. And I was just like, okay, because I'm like, okay, so Shou and then Shenanigans, so Shounanigans and just life dynamics. But that is.
17-year-old niece actually came up with that.
Amazing.
And she was just like, you should call
You should get
yourself
that coin.
Shenanigans.
That coin.
I'm gonna say, I gotta put her on payroll.
You gotta make sure you make your money.
Yeah, she's like, because
You
you're
got the
always up to
footage.
something.
Exactly.
They smart. I'm telling you, this generation
that's how it
Z.
is.
Yeah.
Do
They
you
are
get
smart.
any pushback from people? Like, that's like, hey, why are you doing this? Why are you telling your business?
No.
No?
Actually, I've gotten the opposite. I've gotten people say, well, it's about time.
Mm.
Like, what took you so long? And I'm just like, figuring out
out.
life.
Yeah,
So,
true.
How has like your upbringing as a Haitian American and a woman of color played a role into this? Like, do you highlight that or focus on that at all, as far as like what being a first gen is, what being a first gen Black woman is, what being a Haitian Black woman is? Like, do you touch on those, or is
I
it more of
haven't
an
yet, but you just
exposure?
gave me a great idea, because I will. Honestly, I think that has structured my work ethic. The good thing about it is I go in, I'm determined, I go hard, I'm relentless. The bad thing is I go in, I work hard, I'm relentless. Like, to me, I'm just like, I gotta get a video out, so I gotta edit. It'll be like 2 a.m. I'm like, I gotta be at work in like 3 hours. Like, I'll go without sleep. Like, even now with, my schedule with work, I go to work 7:30 to 5, then I'm in school 5:30 to 10, then I'll go home and edit a video, and anybody who does videos knows that could take anywhere between 2 to 3 hours. So it's like
2 minutes worth of content.
It's like, what exactly? And it's like 1:30 in the morning by the time I get to go to sleep, and then I'm up at 4:30 to get dressed, get her ready for daycare, and then me go to work, and I do the same thing all over again. So it's like, yeah, I'm going in. That's a great thing, but yeah, I'm going in, and it's not a great thing.
So what does self-care look like to Shou?
Naps. Honestly, I self-care is just remembering I need to take a break, or just learning to say no. Like when people just like, oh, you want to go out this? Nah, I'm gonna sleep. Do you have plans? No, I'm gonna sleep. Like I can't do it. And not allowing myself to overdo it to please other people or to feel, I gotta let go of FOMO. Like I was always like, I need to go here because everybody else is gonna be there. And I'm just like, yeah, I'm good. Yeah, y'all have fun. FaceTime me so I can see it. But now I'm more like making sure I'm good.
Right, that's real. The journey to thriving and excelling and figuring yourself out. Yeah. It's not one that's easy, but you're persistent, right? And you're like exploring it. Where do you want to be in 5 years with all of this?
Honestly, I like to facilitate events. You know what I mean? Like, I like being on a platform where I have other guests, or and it's not even just through YouTube or hosting, because I've hosted weddings. I want to be at like conventions where there's a panel and I'm like, okay, let's have this, because I feel like I can do that interaction with people. I've just never had that opportunity to do so. So I feel like exposing myself how I am, people will be like, oh, we should bring Shou along and see how she does. So I plan if anybody out here is listening and they have a show coming up.
That's it.
A lot of people listening, trust me.
Right, making it happen.
Exactly. What has been one of the hardest parts about starting Shounanigans so far?
My hesitation.
Okay.
My fear of the possibility of exposing too much. My fear of making it seem like I'm exploiting my mom, because that's something that a lot of people do. Like people will exploit, some people exploit their difficult times so that for likes or for attention, and I've seen it. And I've always been nervous and scared, and because I don't like attention, I don't like attention. Like I know it's very hard for people to believe that, but I don't like attention. I think that's also made me extra cautious to make sure that whatever I'm doing doesn't seem like I'm only doing it for likes. And I always try to emphasize, if I'm doing something, it's because it's something I want to do. Right. I'm showing it to you because you may be struggling with wanting to do it too, or you may be struggling with wanting to take a jump, and maybe you seeing someone else do it will give you the the extra push you need.
That's nice.
That's beautiful.
Thank
I love
you.
that. Seriously, that's beautiful. I'm like, I don't even know what to say. I'm just sitting here taking it all in.
Yeah, I know, you still
I'm not a person who's often speechless. But really, I mean, as I listen to you, I'm like, yes, like I agree with all of it, right? Being able to be in a position to expose yourself to the world, to truly pour into the world, right? And turning some of your challenges and hardships into moments of success, but then also celebrating your wins, right? And being like, yeah, like, yo, like this was a win, but let me tell y'all what it took to get here, because not all that glitters is gold, and people might oftentimes see the end products, but not often are we afforded the opportunities to understand the journey, or to get exposed to what the journey might look like and what that journey might be. So I thank you for doing that, really, like as you navigate the professional world and going back to school now for cosmetology, right? Trying to personalize it. You're like, well, I want to develop this personal skill for myself, and if I monetize on it, sure, but like that's something that you're appreciating.
You get me? No, that's literally what I want to. Like people just like, even in class, they're like, oh, if you do this like this, you'll make this much money, and I was just telling someone that earlier today. That's kind of a turnoff to me, because I'm like, I'm not in this class to see how much money. If I make the money, I'm great. I didn't start Shounanigans to be rich and to make money. If that happens, great.
Girl,
I'm doing
you're doing it to save yourself money, okay? Because nobody's doing your face. You're doing your face.
Yes, exactly.
Like, who did this makeup? I did it myself.
Child.
I did it myself. Let me tell you.
Who made your outfit? I did it myself.
Right? Who edited your videos? I did it myself.
You won't see these bags in the mind. It was me.
No, they won't see that bag because this that cosmetology certificate.
That's what that baking gonna do for me.
Set that powder straight and that concealer.
So let the collective know where they can follow you and watch your shows online.
Awesome. Okay, so
take your time. Let them know.
Okay, so on Instagram and Facebook, it's Shounanigans. Shounanigans. Child, when I tell you that is a mouthful.
And the letters just repeat themselves.
They do.
One more time. Okay. What's up?
All right. Shounanigans. So if anybody knows me, I go by Shou. Shou. Right? Shenanigans.
Exactly.
NAN. Shounanigans. Just think of, like you said, that's a play on shenanigans. You just put Shou instead. On YouTube, it's the same thing, except Shounanigans B, which is the first letter of my last name. I also am on Twitter. If y'all want to follow me on Twitter, please do. I only got 3. Listen, I'm learning Twitter.
Yes,
I know it's so hard.
I just got in it this week. Okay.
Oh my God, me was last week.
I used to be big on Twitter back in the day. Now I'm like,
I had Twitter.
I had a bunch of followers, and I was like,
I had Twitter like years ago, right? And so I still have that account, but I'm like, tweet was 2016. I said I tweeted in 2016. Like, what did I even talk about?
Only thing you see now is when I retweet stuff and repost from like Instagram.
That's all I have. I got 3 followers on Twitter. Please follow me on Twitter.
Follow her, y'all. Follow her.
Same thing, Shounanigans. But honestly, with Shounanigans on YouTube, thank you. On YouTube, I'm posting on a weekly basis.
Okay.
So there's no theme. One day I might post something really serious. Another day it'll be like me partying. So you never know what to expect, but you are guaranteed to feel something.
That's good. That's good.
It's real. I love it. I love it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, like we said, it is a great honor and a great joy to talk to Shou of Shounanigans, sharing her story about all that she juggles, right? And so for this particular segment, it's like, listen, there's so many people out there who are always saying, I'm just trying to figure it out. I'm learning every day where I am, what I'm doing. I have so many interests. We're all out here. People are always trying to figure it out. But if there's one thing I got from Shou in this conversation, and I got many gems, I received many gems, but one thing for sure is do it all, because you never know when your time will end. So if you like it, learn to love it. If you love it, like it, appreciate it, celebrate it, and just go out there and do it. So thank you so much, Shou. Appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you guys.
Thank you for being on. And it's your man NIC.
It's your girl Bernadine Truth.
We'll be right back.